Hello, and welcome to the Doc Miami International Film Festival at the Doral Resort and Spa in beautiful Miami, Florida. I'm Larry Linehauser with Manatee Educational Television. METV is here in Miami because our documentary, Through the Tunnel, has been selected to be screened at this prestigious festival. Not only is this a great opportunity for METV, but it's also a great opportunity for us to meet some of the world's best documentary filmmakers. There are over 160 documentaries represented here from over 30 countries in the world. We're going to have a chance to talk with some of them, as well as some of the festival organizers and a few special guests. So please join us at the Doc Miami International Film Festival. Welcome back. We're here at the Doc Miami International Film Festival, and joining me now is the director of the festival, Monica Rosales. Monica, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Monica, you're pretty much carrying the weight of this whole project. This was your idea, and the genesis began with you. Tell us about your involvement.
Actually, the idea, I believe, comes from the contributions of many creative people. So it's actually an idea that's been evolving. We consider ourselves like a bohemian group of artists, and everyone has contributed a little piece, and it has added to the success of the event thus far.
What kind of preparations did it take for you to put something of this magnitude together?
A lot of support from the city of Doral. I'm very happy to have the festival here. It's a nice small town atmosphere. I grew up in Miami. It's very easy to get lost in the huge numbers. And the city of Doral has really welcomed us as a family and supported the event. And definitely our volunteers and our staff have really given their entire heart and effort and energy and time into this project. And that's really what's helped us move along.
Okay, so since the idea came to this point, how much time has passed?
Oh my, exactly 1 year.
1 year?
Yeah, I mean, we started with, the idea started evolving in May. We opened up competition in November, and it is now May, and we received over 300 submissions from all over the world, from every continent on the planet. And we're going to be showing 117 of those films in just 3 days. We also have included music concerts. So we are a full event, 3-day festival, morning to night.
How did you get the word out? You have over 30 countries represented, I understand?
Right now, we actually have over 30 different countries represented through the submission process.
And how did you get the word out to these people to get them here?
Definitely a lot of social networking sites that has helped a lot. Local media has covered the Doral Family Journal, the Doral News here. The Miami Herald has come aboard and supported us, and that's helped to get the word out. A few radio stations in the area. And definitely the filmmakers themselves. It seemed that the filmmakers wanted it, they like South Florida. They wanted a place to showcase their films. The international community loves our state, and they really seem to have been waiting for someone to put together a festival with a focus on documentary films and to come and participate. So.
Is this the only documentary geared film festival that you know of, or is there others? Is there a circuit, or is this it?
In the state of Florida, I'm not aware that there are any others. There might be smaller ones. I'm not going to declare that we're the only one, but I would say that if we're not the only one, we're one of the very few documentary-focused film festivals in the state.
Very good. Let's talk about some of the movies. What are some of the ones that have piqued your interest, and which do you think you'd like to see do well?
I'm very biased. I love all of the films. I really do. I've been trying to escape as much as I could to the screening areas during the event whenever I'm able to. Definitely some of our special screenings are pretty important, and it almost seems as though there is some other intervention to make it happen at this venue. For example, My Run, which is the story of Terry Hitchcock. This is a gentleman who is a real-life Forrest Gump. He lost his wife to breast cancer, and he ran 75 marathons in 75 days. We had his screening last night, and Terry Hitchcock was here, and the filmmakers, and we donated all those funds to the American Cancer Society.
Very good.
You know, and also this year is the 40th anniversary of Woodstock, and tonight's film, Rock and Roll Made in Mexico, is by Tito de la Parra, who played at Woodstock. And it's his film. So it just seems somehow that all the films that have come to us have have some special meanings, and you know, that it's just an honor. Yeah.
Welcome back to the Doc Miami International Film Festival. Joining me now is Lance Miccio, who is the director, producer, and co-writer of the video Rock and Roll Made in Mexico. Welcome, Lance.
Thanks. All right, little history of the film is Fido de la Parra, who's the executive producer, and co-writer of this, is a member of Canned Heat, and I was working for the History Channel, and they sent me down there to interview him for a show they were doing, Hippies. And I started working with Fido, and Fido had wanted me to do a documentary about his band, Canned Heat, based on his book, Living the Blues.
Okay.
And that story starts in Mexico City with Fido. And Fido playing in bands like Los Cines, Los Tequilas, Los Hooligans, at a very young age of 15. And he introduced me to his record collection, which I found absolutely phenomenal. I'm getting goosebumps now just thinking about it. And very raw. And I said, Fido, I've never heard of any of this music. He said, well, you know, rock and roll was declared illegal in 1973 after the Avandero concert.
Amazing. Which
is like a Mexican Woodstock, and stayed that way until 1985. Musicians were beat up. Javier Batey talks about having his eye knocked out for playing in a rock and roll band. And he said that in America, as a quote from the film, in America, if you're good, the music companies lift you. In Mexico, they threw you in jail at that time. So it's a really interesting story. The more layers I peel back, the more it became more of a sociological project than it was a rock and roll documentary. And events that led to Avandero and then Tataloco, which was before that, the massacre of Tataloco from the students, all tied together with rock and roll and making it illegal.
What was Mexico's reason? The government, or I'm assuming, was the factor that was the dislike for rock and roll.
Well, the music started out with in the cafe cantantes, the singing cafes, which were very innocent, but it was so oppressive and so strict, I would say, that you weren't allowed to dance. You had to sit in your chair and dance. If you stood up to dance, you got thrown out. Eventually, Urututu, the mayor of Mexico, got it in his mind that what he thought was a leftist movement was tied together with rock and roll, but anybody that was in the rock and roll movement was not in the leftist movement. Anybody was there, but you had to be there to know that. And then it sped up with the Avandero concert. Of course, there was Tataloco before that, which during the Olympics, there was this massacre of students protesting oppression in Mexico. And they tied that all with rock and roll. It really wasn't the case. And then after Avandero, when 300,000 youth got together and sang a song called We Got the Power, the pre-revolutionary government in Mexico said that was it. And they pulled the plug literally in the middle of the concert. There was a live feed. And one of the singers in the band had cursed, and they used that excuse to pull the plug, shut down the radio stations that broadcast it, arrested everybody that worked in a radio station, and then it stayed underground, which led to a new social movement in the barrios where bands like El Tri, or Three Souls in My Mind, would play to basically on the dirt floor of a parking lot with 100,000 fans dancing around them. And then eventually in '85, it was in Argentina when the rockeros started there and the music was being broadcast to Mexico. They finally lifted the ban on it. So it's a really kind of deep story. I really wasn't expect to get into.
This movie's got quite a bit of buzz around it at this festival. I'm looking forward to seeing it. What is the message you think people are going to take away from it? Would it be individual? Is there a collective?
I think they'll appreciate the Mexican rock and roll movement. A lot of other rock and roll movements in England and even in Russia, in the Ukraine, have gotten attention, Argentina. But really in Mexico, there were some brilliant musicians. One, Fido de la Parra is one, Alex Lora from El Tri, Lalo Torel from Los Locos de Ritmo, and many bands, Johnny Ortega from Los Hooligans. songs that sold 100 million copies, that were really popular, that just kind of disappeared. So hopefully it'll reintroduce the music to a new generation, and that's really our goal. And to show what an influence the Mexican rock is, especially Javier Batey's had on people like Santana, had in rock and roll, and it's important. And it was an untold story, and I felt strongly compelled, as well as Fido, to tell it, and try not to just tell it through historians, guys who wrote books on it. Although we have a few of those, Federico Ruble and the gentleman who wrote Refried Elvis, his name escapes me, I'm sorry, but they, the guys that actually lived it, Javier Batey, Alex Lara, Lalo Terrell, Johnny Ortega, Fido de la Parra, to tell this story in their own words, which is unique, because a lot of the work I did for the History Channel was always based on stock footage and interviews on people, so-called experts on it, which we know experts have their own slant on history. Sure. But this coming from straight from the source, I feel that's where its real strength is. And the fact that Fido collected all this, Fido's like a real documentary lover, so he collected all this great stock footage. And then one of the gentlemen who ran the Vandero concert is interviewed in this, and he actually got us the music rights for the film. And so right now what we're doing is we show it in colleges, and we have all the musicians that are in this I've put together in a band with Fido called Banner of the Sun. So this kind of like Buena Vista thing going on right now, and hopefully it'll lead to another movie, a second film. But it's an important film. It's not an easy film. It's it's a tough story, and I didn't pull any punches on it. People wanted me to make it a little happier, but soften it up, and I didn't feel that that would do the story justice. So it has a happy ending, but you have to, you had to go through the hard times of the Mexican rockers, and to understand their story and how they persevered and what they had to deal with. And I'm really pleased to be here in Miami with a large Latino population and a Mexican population here. So I'm hoping that, that I get the chance. I am getting the chance to see that.
I'm looking forward to seeing it. And Lance, we wish you the best, and thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you very much for having me. I look forward to the screening tonight.
Thank you. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Joining me now is Tim VandeSteeg from the movie My Run, a documentary that's quite interesting. Tim, tell us about your movie.
Well, my movie's called My Run, and it's the story of Terry Hitchcock, about a man that ran 75 consecutive marathons in 75 consecutive days. He did this at the age of 57, 6 months after having a heart attack. Now, why he did this is because he wanted to bring awareness to the struggle of single-parent families, and he became a single parent after his wife died of breast cancer. So, and the film's narrated by Billy Bob Thornton, and we're out here making our Florida premiere at Doc Miami.
Very good. How do you like the festival thus far?
Well, I love it. Everybody's really nice, professional. There's a lot of great films here. I've seen a couple of the films here at other festivals, and they're all award-winning films. So it's a very nice place to be.
I understand your film was quite well received, yes?
Oh, very well, yeah. We had a pretty good sized audience, and we got a standing ovation. And I'm out here, I'm the director-producer, I'm out here with my producing partner, Mark Castaldo, and I'm also out here with Terry Hitchcock, who is the subject of the documentary, and he came out last night. He flew back already to Minneapolis now, and he was just having a great old time and answered a lot of questions. And what was really cool about our screening is that Parents Without Partners came to our screening, and they presented Terry with an honorary plaque. He's an honorary member. So that was kind of an exciting thing that we didn't expect.
That's very good. Let me ask you a question. I mean, the story itself was incredibly inspirational. How did you hear about Terry's story?
Well, I have a mutual friend with Terry, and my friend knew that I wanted to make a movie that's inspirational. I always like those movies like Rocky and The Natural. I like when people get beaten down and fight their way back. And I think so many people out there can relate to that. So when he told me about this story, I decided to meet this guy. And before you know it, after we met, we talked about it. I really said, this is the story I got to do. And then also another part for me inside of why I wanted to make this movie is because I was raised by a single parent, a one-parent home. And I had my father, but when you have a one-parent home, you're raised by one. Sure. And yeah, and that's why I kind of wanted to most give it a tribute to my mom. And then with all with the breast cancer theme and the cancer theme, I had relatives with cancer stuff, and my producing partner lost his mom to cancer. So this film is more than just a film to us. It's very, very personal. And we're just happy to be here. So,
well, Tim, we're very happy to hear about your work. I can't wait to see the story, and I wish you all the best. Do you have anything else in the can at this point?
Well, what we're really excited is about getting the film out there, because a lot of filmmakers will think that once you're done with the film, you're done. You're not. If this is a marathon, we're in the middle of it. We're on mile 13, because the whole object is to get the film out there, build impressions, let people see it, get distribution, and what have you. The big thing I just want to make sure that people know is that we're online. We're at myrunmovie.com. We're at Facebook, facebook.com/myrunmovie, Twitter, and we just want to get the film out there, and that's about all I can tell you about with the film right now.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and great success in the future.
Thank you.
And joining us now is Robbie Hopcraft, who has a documentary film here. Robbie, tell us the name of your film and what it's about.
My film is called Audience with the Queens, and it's based on it profiles a group of drag queens that live and perform in Key West. And it's about an hour long. It's been very well received. It's kind of a look behind the scenes at what and who a drag queen really is. I mean, people see drag queens, they see them dressed in high heels and big hair and big shoes, and they really don't know anything about them. And neither did I until I started doing this documentary. But I've learned a great deal about them. They're an incredible group of performers. They're really warm, giving, sharing people. And I felt that the story should be told about what they're really like as people. That's what it focuses on, what they're like as people.
What was the inspiration for creating this documentary?
Well, every year in Key West, we have at New Year's, at midnight, there's a great big giant red stiletto shoe that's lowered from the top of a building with a drag queen in it. And CNN films it every year. And so I was filming this as a stringer, and I said, I want to meet the drag queen that's in the shoe. And so I arranged to meet the drag queen, and then just thought, this is a fascinating story, because I learned a little bit about this person. And so then I approached the drag queen later, and I said, look, I'd like to profile a group of you drag queens. And that's how it began.
So how long from inception of the idea to the final product?
Well, so far I've shot about 60 hours of film.
Wow.
I've interviewed the drag queens. There's 6 of them that I profiled with their moms, different parts of their life, and it's been going on a year and a half now, probably about a year and a half.
And obviously the movie was well received. Are you satisfied with the quality of the product?
Well, when I first did it, it was accepted at the New York International Film Festival, the first half hour that I did. That was about a year ago.
Okay.
And then it won an award there for Best Alternative Lifestyle Documentary. Then I submitted it to the Fort Lauderdale Film Festival last November, and it was really well received there. So I keep adding to it. And it was started out at 30, then it's got a little longer, now it's almost 60.
Okay, final question. What is the message you want people to take away from your documentary?
The message that I'm trying to put out there is that people shouldn't be so judgmental before they really take a look at what it is that they're seeing. That's the message. I mean, we've all got our tendencies, and it's just to be a little more forgiving, open-minded about other groups in society.
Welcome back. Joining me now are 2 people who are involved in the making of the documentary, Batey, Mosquito. Yes, Eduardo?
Yes, that's our film. We are pleased to be a part of Doc Miami. It's been a great festival so far. A lot of great films, and I'm particularly excited to be here because it's our American premiere of the film. And I grew up in Miami, so it's nice to come home with our film. It's our first feature film, and we're really excited to show all the people of Miami.
Very good. Give us an overview of your film, please.
It's about Haitian migrant workers living in the Dominican Republic, working on sugarcane plantations.
Okay. Carmen, what was your role in the film?
I'm the director and producer, and also I want to thank Doc Miami for giving us the opportunity of showing our documentary here.
Carmen, is this your first documentary, or have you done more?
Yes, no, this is my first documentary. Actually, I'm a photographer, and this is how I end up doing this documentary. I started a photo project, photographing the Haitian workers, and I got so involved that at one point I wanted to put some voices on these people, so I got in contact with Eduardo and we made this documentary.
Very good. Eduardo, what inspired you to do this?
Carmen's work. She has an amazing body of work, working, I mean, for 5 years, I think. She was in the Bateys, making connections, building relationships, really getting into the story of these people, and it was something that really begged to be told on a very personal level, rather than taking a kind of like a wide overview or macro approach. This really goes to a microscopic level and looks at really the day-to-day reality of the workers of the Batey.
How much, let me ask you first as a photographer, how much of this plight of these Haitians do you think is known by the world in general?
Very unknown. Actually, I think very few people in the world know what's the reality of this community, especially I think the Haitian in the Dominican Republic. Of course, now the Haitian people, after this terrible earthquake, I think a lot of countries now, they know where Haiti is, but before that, the Haitian workers in the Dominican Republic, it's something that nobody really knows.
Eduardo, what's your message you want to send in this movie?
I think it's that that we live in a small world, and really we live. The fact that we're in a global community means that we should look closely at how our habits and our lifestyles possibly affect those of our neighbors. It sounds a little vague, but
well, the ripple effect, basically, what we do and what everybody else does, sort of transcends to everybody else. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, and fundamentally, how much we're all alike. I think that's what it comes down to.
Very good. I want to thank you both for joining me. I look forward to your film, and I wish you great success on everything. Carmen, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Eduardo, thank you very much.
Thank you
Best
very
of
much.
success. Welcome back to the Film Festival. Joining me now is Miccio. She's the workshop coordinator for the festival. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Larry.
Can you please tell me what exactly you're doing? What's your role specifically?
Well, we do the Florida Media Market, which is a portion that goes with the educational component to several festivals, and we partnered this year with Doc Miami. And we did festivals on we did online distribution, which is the new wave of distribution for documentaries and for films and shorts.
Okay.
And that was in the morning at 9 a.m. And we had Eric Maroon from Big Star, Julio Nieri from Cine Latino. Then we had Brenda from Open Films. So they were talking about the innovation of the filmmakers uploading their films for distribution online. So they have their own portal and their own film portal. So it was very interesting.
So the whole medium's really changed quite a bit over now. It's still technology driven, using the internet and using that technology to upload those films, yes?
Yes, that was also our second panel, talking about the different distribution outlets that we as filmmakers don't know, as the VOD, which is video on demand, DVD, which everybody knows that goes to the multiple outlines to be able to distribute, like Walmart's and different companies that can do the home video distribution, as well as the IPTV and all the VVODs, which is a new technology of doing it. But it also opens doors for the filmmakers to be able to have the executive look at our work, to be able to be distributed around the world, basically.
So it really gives people who are maybe just starting out or don't have a gigantic budget an avenue in order to reach their audience, correct?
Yeah. The third workshop was about funding and the different associations that can help the filmmakers how to get the funding from the beginning, the seed dollars, to be able to produce their work, even a show, a short film, or a documentary. Where can they get the international and national seed dollars? Latin Public Broadcasting was here, PBS, the local PBS also was here. And also to understand that there is not only the money, but the in-kind that they can use their editing facilities or production facilities. And Latino Public Broadcasting also, and PBS also have funding source and seed dollars that they can apply. So all that information we had yesterday.
Very good.
I mean this morning, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
All that information we had it at the panels.
Okay. So what's your take on the festival so far?
It's amazing. It's amazing the response that we have gotten. It's our first year as a Doc Miami. So, and it's actually the first documentary film festival in Miami. So it's wonderful. We didn't know we were going to be so successful.
Well, we're very excited to be here too, Maritza. We appreciate your time and look forward to seeing you the rest of the festival.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome back. Joining me now is the associate producer of a documentary known as Tre'shawn P. It's Maxamillion Olsen. Maxamillion, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
You have quite a, this is quite a moving story. Can you give us an overview of the documentation itself?
Absolutely. It's basically a story about four brothers who were nearly starved to death in New Jersey by their adoptive parents. And it's a sad story with what actually happened to them. It was all over the news several years ago, but with a very happy ending. So it's supposed to be a very inspirational piece, and it really tells the story through one of the brothers' eyes, what he went through, and he really wanted to tell his story so that everyone knew what was going on. And it's very tragic, but with a happy ending.
And Tre'shawn P is that individual, correct?
Tre'shawn P is that individual, right?
So how did you guys find out about Tre'shawn, and how did it all come to be?
Well, it was a few years ago on another shoot. Our producer, William Goins, met the boys, four of the brothers, and he knew right away he had heard their story, and he knew it was a story worth telling, and they explored all the options, and we met up with Tre'shawn and the family, the parishes who they live with now. So we went to South New Jersey and shot them with the family, and the second day we went to the courthouse and shot the courthouse scene.
How long did it take to produce this whole film?
Well, the shooting was 2 days, but the overall production was about a month.
About a month?
Pre-production, 2 days of shooting, and then post-production, editing. So,
what do you think the message Tre'shawn wanted to get out to the public would be, and through your medium? Obviously, he's a survivor and done quite well.
He's a survivor, and he's very brave, and I think that he just wanted to tell his story so that you know, everyone else who's in that situation has a voice, and they should be heard, and there's no point in hiding or being afraid. Really let everything out, and he just hopes, through telling his story, that this won't happen to anyone else, and hopefully that's the case, but it's of course a very hard turn of events that happened to his brothers, and it's happening all over the States right now as we speak, and you wouldn't imagine it actually happening in America, but it is, and Tre'shawn just really wants, you know, kids his age or future foster children to be heroic and stand up.
Can you tell us some of the things that he went through without being too graphic, I guess?
Absolutely. Well, him and his four brothers were, you know, restricted completely from food. The refrigerator was locked. Very often they were forced to sit on the steps and just wait for hours and hours, and the foster mother, Vanessa Jackson, would bring down a cup of water, and that's about it. But they really, they're being starved to death, and it's very difficult.
The parents, the foster parents, did they have a history of doing this with foster kids, or was this they just? Why would they? I mean, what motivated them to do something so horrific to kids?
Well, the motivation is very. It's hard to. I can't really speak about their motivations, but I know that their record must have been clean. And the problem is, it's the whole child welfare system in New Jersey specifically. That's what this documentary focuses on.
Okay.
And you know, they had social workers visit the house 38 times. And
they didn't pick up on anything?
They didn't pick up on anything because the parents had claimed that the children had eating disorders. Whatever food they were given, they wouldn't eat it, etc. So it's they got away with it, but not for long. Finally, Bruce, the eldest brother, broke out of the house, went to the dumpster, and the neighbors saw him. They called the police and exposed the whole truth.
Were the boys too frightened to speak up when the caseworkers would come out and talk with them, or?
I believe so. They were definitely frightened. I mean, they had homeschooling for periods of time, but they also would go to church, but they would wear 4 layers of sweaters or something like that to make them look healthy. But of course, I imagine they were afraid, and they didn't want to deal with the consequences. No more food. So.
All right. Well, it sounds like a very moving story, but a very happy ending, as you say, which is a good thing.
Exactly.
Maxamillion, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome back. Joining me now is John Kenworthy, the Executive Director and founder of Brick by Brick for Tanzania. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
John, you have a great and a very worthwhile project. Would you please tell our audience what exactly you're doing?
Essentially, our project is such that we build preschools in Africa, Tanzania to be proper. The whole idea is in Tanzania that the average family income is about $370 US for a whole family, and that's per year. From that, they have to feed, clothe, house, educate, their families on that. That creates some, as you can understand, some real challenges for them as a nation. Where we come in is that right now what's happening is that the mothers will stay home with the youngest children. The percentage of kids who go to primary school in Tanzania is about 57%. When they get to the secondary school age, only 7% attend secondary school, with less than 1% actually graduating. That's a 99% failure rate. And the reason for that is primarily that the older children have to go off and get jobs to help their families. What we do is by offering these preschools, we give them an opportunity that the mothers can now feel safe and comfortable that their children are in a nurturing environment where they can get an academic head start on the primary school process. Because they can do that, now the mothers can go out and they can take little jobs in the shambas, picking carrots or coffee. They can do piecework with textiles or things in the local villages. And that means that the older children can stay in school longer. And that's where the change in Tanzania will come. Right now there may be a fourth world or fifth world country. We never hear about Tanzania in the papers. Tanzania is not sexy. It doesn't have Bono or Angelina Jolie going over there. It's just very, very poor. And that poorness leads to a lot of things, primary of which is disease and illness. Every 30 seconds in Tanzania, a child dies of malaria. That doesn't have to happen.
Something that is so preventable.
Mosquito nets can prevent that. Different ways of treating, standing water can treat that. We know the cures, we just can't get it there.
Okay. So for this festival, there are I hope, some fundraising going on for Brick by Brick.
Yep. Every evening there's a concert, and the proceeds from those concerts come to Brick by Brick, and we're just floored by that. We're amazed. We were approached that they chose us to be the charity for the monies to go to from the concerts, and we're just overjoyed by that we were chosen and honored. And the acts that are playing are phenomenal. They're giving from their heart, which is everything for us. For us, a school in Tanzania costs about $6,250 for a one-room schoolhouse. We've done a couple of two-room schoolhouses, which are around $12,000. So any money we raise here can go right to building the schools. And unlike a lot of organizations, we don't have an infrastructure that requires money. We have no paid staff. We insist that no one on the board of directors or internally gets paid. We want every penny to go right directly towards buying bricks, for mortar, for the timber, and for the roofing materials. We don't want it to go to somebody else, to a middleman, right, to a bureaucracy. And I think that's how we're a little bit different than a lot. It may keep us a little smaller, but with organizations like...
Keeps it more pure, though.
It does, and that for me is essential, that we keep it pure.
How can people watching this help out? Do you have a website they can go to?
We do. It's www.brickbybrickfortanzania.org. It's a long one, but that'll get you there. They can donate it through PayPal there. They can write us. What we're always looking to do is to build partnerships. We have a great partnership with the Doral Middle School. That's one where I came down and I gave 3 presentations, and those kids were phenomenal. You know, these are kids that donate approximately $1.25 each kid, which is the cost of a brick over in Tanzania.
Okay.
And so these kids created a paper brick with their name on it, bought it for $1.25, stuck it up on the wall, and through those little donations, they raised $2,000.
All right.
That's incredible. And for us, that $1.25 is not insignificant. You know, we chose the name of our organization, Brick by Brick, very carefully, because every brick in a structure is essential. If you remove one brick, the entire integrity of the structure is weakened. And we feel the same way about children, whether it be a child here in Florida or a child in Tanzania. Every child is essential. So our job is to connect the 2 children in a way that's meaningful. And for $1.25 each child can give and can help and make a true, real difference in the world.
No doubt. Well, John, thank you very much for joining us for the interview. We look forward to supporting your cause and wish you great success in your endeavor.
Thank you very much for having me.
Welcome back to the Film Festival. Joining me now is someone you all know. It's one of the main reasons we are here. 3-time Super Bowl champion, Mr. Henry Lawrence. Henry, welcome to the show.
Great to be here.
Henry, we're here because you're here, because you put this whole thing together. You have a film submitted for the contest, for the festival. Tell me the history of it.
Well, the basic history of it is that there was once upon a time a Lincoln Memorial High School. Started out Memorial Elementary School is where I came from, and they both were on the same grounds, but the campus was separate but side by side. And I went from Memorial Elementary to Lincoln, and of course, in my years of doing that, I was Coach Shannon, and in my 7th grade year, Coach Willie Clemens came into play because he graduated from A&M and came back. He came up through the system. Coach Cromartie, Jimmy Cromartie, Eddie McMillan, Mr. Sanders, and then the history before that, Coach Green, and Coach Maxwell, and all those people, basketball, football, and we had a great tradition, not just sports though, because we had a lot of academians that have come out of Lincoln High School and from the Manatee area, Palmetto, Bradenton, Livonia, Parish, many. We've had generals, medical doctors, scientists, you name it, we have it that have come through there. The school was closed in the summer of '69, which was my junior year. And from there, we went to Manatee. And that was my 4th year of sports going into my senior year. And we came from a winning tradition. I think in that whole period of time when I was there, we may have lost 1 or 2 games. Coach Shannon was the head coach. And my freshman year, I played under Coach Clemens, who was the freshman coach. So it was a lot of history there. But I was just one of the regular players because we had guys that were way beyond, my scope of apprehension.
Why is there such a connection to the alumni of Lincoln? I mean, it's amazing. You guys are a very tight group of people, and it seems like Coach Shannon, and listening to him, I mean, he was just a phenomenal motivator and a good leader, but everybody I've talked to who went there just has an undying love and loyalty to that school.
Well, I'm sure that there are others, other schools that also have a love, and appreciation and loyalty to their schools and their traditions, their alma maters. And I think that Lincoln Memorial High would probably be no different it seems that way because you're in the midst of it and you get an opportunity to feel the electricity of what's happening with that. But you know, and I've been blessed to be in the different environments, and it's a common thing, but then it also is an uncommon thing because one of the things that I think fermented that was the tradition of winning in sports, and sports was something that we had to do, not had to do, but well, in my case, I kind of had to do it because I got tired of walking around campus, and of course, Coach Shannon was the motivator. He motivated in many ways. And coming out of Memorial Elementary, the campus were close, so they had a tendency to wander over on our campus. So Coach Shannon would be walking around, he'd have a little belt tied up behind his back and be walking, you know, and you look around and something hit bow on you, and he'd say, I want to see you on that football field, big boy. So he had many ways of motivating, not just his speeches, because he had a speech called Keep It Going that he still does. And whenever I have him get involved with him, I asked him to do that speech. And it was one of the things that carried me throughout my career, even in the pros with the Raiders. In addition to being blessed with the Jim Williams from the legendary Blake High, became the head coach at A&M, which also changed my life. And Coach Clement, which was another one.
Blake out of Hillsborough County.
Blake out of Hillsborough County. He built the legendary Blake. And he came to A&M. And he saw something in me, you know, in my habits, my practice, but all of that carried over from Lincoln, from playing freshman ball with Coach Clement. He saw something in me. Coach Moody, you know, who got down in the trenches and show you how to do it. He didn't just tell you how to do it. He'd get in there, and I could hear his voices. When I left Lincoln and went to Manatee, of course, you know, I didn't get to play that much over there, but at A&M, I could hear his voice saying, you got to hit that sucker, you know, and I still hear it now.
One thing I found interesting is when you did transfer to Manatee, you didn't see as much playing time, but yet you went on to a fabulously successful career in the NFL. So your word to guys who don't get much playing time in high school doesn't mean that you're not going to see it sometime later down there if you've got what it takes.
No, and you know, this is one of the things that when I go around the country and to youth groups and the kids and even grown-ups, you know, I said just because, you know, it's not happening for you on the main scene, it doesn't mean that you don't continue to do what you do best and to do it the best that you can, because you just never know when it's going to happen and when it can happen. Because in sports, now especially, the eye is in the sky. Yeah. And everything they do in sports now, they got it on film, they tape it. So I tell you, you know, in practice, you know, and whatever it is you're doing, somebody sees it.
Yep.
So you never know what play or what particular situation will make somebody notice that, hey, we got something here.
Okay. What's the message you hope Through the Tunnel is going to give people? What would you like to see? Other than being a tremendous documentary about those events, I mean, there's a bigger picture. I mean, obviously, sports is like it outlines life. There's, you know, sports is more than just running with a football or throwing a ball or catching a ball or whatever. It's to teach you greater lessons in life, and obviously, this story, I think.
I think that it would do something for many, because what it also does is because in many ways, when one thing ends, you know, there's unlimited things that can begin, you know, so it's never over until it's over. And that's one of the things that not just blacks, you know, whites, Hispanics, it doesn't matter, because
never give up.
It boils down to, you know, it doesn't matter what choice. You know, like I said, it doesn't matter what road. Say, because the two roads, they split, and he decided to take the one less traveled, and it's made all the difference. But to add on to that, he took the one less traveled, but it made the difference was made is what he did when he took the road less traveled. He could have took the one most traveled, and it still would have boiled down to what he did, how he applied it.
Very true.
And it's just like Coach Shannon said, keep it going.
Very true. Well, Henry, I'm looking forward to hanging with you at the festival this week, and I hope like heck we win. Not to say that I'm not neutral in the event, because I'm not.
It's in the bag. We got the blessings on us.
All right. Henry, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Joining me now is Moody Johnson. Moody was a critical player in the making of Through the Tunnel. Moody, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Moody, you got a great voice, and I understand that you narrated this documentary.
Yes, sir. Quite a pleasure.
So there was a lot of key players involved in putting this together.
That is correct.
Tell me about some of the things that you did and some people that were major influences in the making of the movie.
Well, we had the Honorable retired Judge Adriane Adams and Judge Williams, who were our producers and directed us through with Clap Salad and METV. And of course, the featured players in the documentary itself are Henry Lawrence of the Oakland Raiders, retired, and former coach Eddie Shannon, who's been a coach for over 55 years in Manatee County.
So, Through the Tunnel, most people aren't going to know what that means.
Okay.
You were there,
yes.
You went to school there, you went through the tunnel. Tell me about it. What is it?
Okay. Well, before the tunnel was developed, that was nothing more than a tract of land. And then in the early 60s, they decided to put US 41 through that part of the Palmetto area. And with that being done, it was going to separate us from the football field and our practice field. So they had to develop a means for us to get through safely, not realizing they were creating an ambiance that would make it a great metaphor for our Friday night football games. And we dubbed the name Trojan Tunnel. And it runs underneath US 41 right through Palmetto between 10th and 17th Street, right next to what is now Lincoln Middle School, was our high school, Lincoln Memorial High School.
Yeah. It's amazing, as I'm a native of Florida, grew up in Hillsborough, played for Hillsborough High School.
Okay.
Moved down Manatee County, yeah. Billy Turner was my coach back then. Then I came here, and I've been here for 30-some years, and I never knew there was a tunnel that went underneath 41.
Well, believe it or not, there are a lot of people in Manatee County that don't even know it, because as you ride across 41 there by the school, it's just another part of land to you, not realizing it has a significance, importance to us, because it really meant a lot to be able to come through that tunnel every day for practice, and then on Friday nights, as we say, walk right into glory and play football.
What does this movie mean to you?
Well, it tells a story, given that transition from segregation to integration, and through the eyes of how we saw it and how we felt about it, and the things that helped us, and some of the things that we didn't agree with right then. But if my daddy said, if it don't kill you, it'll make you stronger, and it helped develop me in my manhood and realize the importance of the brotherly love. No matter what color person is, you got to learn to get along with each other and forget about some of the situations that happened in the past, because it's not everybody's fault. Only a few people cause situations, and we should make it better, a common place for everybody to be happy.
That's a great message.
Yeah.
What years did you go there?
I graduated from Lincoln Memorial High School in 1965,
wow.
Class of 1965. We were undefeated, even though we didn't make it to the state finals. We did okay. Robert Hamilton, who's now retired from Lincoln Memorial High School and from Lincoln Middle School as an instructor, he was our quarterback All-State. And Henry Lawrence, he was a few years behind me, but his sister, Geneva, was my classmate, and we had a pretty good team.
Well, I understand it was more than a pretty good team. You guys did quite well.
Yeah, we were pretty good. Very proud. That was the key thing. We just couldn't understand how people can't be proud of a school. Three things that we were taught that we should always carry as a big institution in our lives: home, church, and school. And that was spread throughout wherever you go. And if you make those things work well in your life, then your future will be brighter and better.
Well, you should be very proud.
Oh, I am.
And one more thing.
Yes.
Coach Shannon.
Coach Shannon.
Tell me about him.
A father figure to many of us. He was no nonsense. He could be a comedy, but it was still no nonsense. Discipline was number one. Home, church, and school again. He said, you're going to love your church, you're going to honor your parents, and you should develop a pride about your school situation. And he wanted us to realize that everybody's not able to make an A if you go to college. He said, but you should be able to make a B minus and maintain, no lower than a C. He set his standards very high for us, and his rules were strict, and I didn't agree with them back then. But I understood, especially once I went into the military and other parts of the world, how important the lessons that I learned from him and my father and all those guys like him were important. But he's always been there for all of us, a mainstay. and a rock.
And he coached for over 50 years?
Yes, 50.
That is amazing.
About 55 years.
And that's the kind of guy that a parent hopes their kid will be coached by.
That's
to
correct.
me, I know that's because kids at that age they're impressionable and they may buck you in the initial stages, but you know they're never going to forget what you said.
You'll always come back home. As a matter of fact, he still helps out at Manatee High School with the program there. And he comes over to Palmetto High, and he'll go to any school. It doesn't matter to him, but he helps out more than any other place at Manatee High School, and it's a good thing because our kids have a chance to see him and realize that the things we're telling them is not just a story.
Right.
It's a legend.
The living
He's
legend
the real
right
deal.
there, yeah.
He's the real
Woody,
deal.
thank you so much, and I'm
Thank you so
rooting
much.
for it.
All right. Thank you
care.
so much. God bless.
And welcome back to the Film Festival. Joining me now is Adriane Bosch. Welcome, Adriane.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Please tell us about your film, the current one. I know you have a lot, and I want to hear about your history and background as well, please.
Okay. Well, what we screened today here is the 4th hour of a series called Latin Music USA. It is about Latin music as the creation of Latinos in the United States, fusing their own music with American music and sort of trying to get at Latino identity and integration through a musical journey. The program aired in October 12th of last year on PBS, and it will likely re-air this fall, but it is available online through pbs.org.
You have you've been doing this for a while.
Yes.
Tell me some of your experience.
Well, I started working at WGBH in 1983 in a program called Crisis in Central America for Frontline. I have done over 18 hours of documentary production for PBS, mostly for the American Experience, the history series. And this last production that I did was a pop-up, what they call it in PBS, an independent limited series. And it was within the framework of trying to get at the Latino experience in the United States in a way that is understandable and friendly to the mainstream. Before this, I did a little program called Yellow Fever, and before that, I did a documentary on Fidel Castro, which I think was, to date, what I consider to be one of my best efforts and a very solid contribution to the understanding of the Cuban Revolution and a biography of Fidel and the life of Fidel Castro.
On this particular documentary, what was the inspiration to you to produce this?
Well, we knew that Latin music is something very, very special and something that has really been a hallmark of the Latino experience in the United States, and also one of the most visible elements of the Latino presence in America. So we decided that we were going to look at the Latino experience by focusing on music, and also that, that music was by nature done on kind of the uniting line between the two cultures, and that if we did look at music, we were going to have an opportunity to look at the interaction and the interconnection of Latinos and the mainstream, what was then called the mainstream. Now we're all integrated into some sort of new version of that. But and that we would understand a lot more about the Latino experience, and also we would see that we have not lived in isolation from the larger culture in America, nor are we new in America, but that it's been a long time, it's been a long way, and nowhere is this more evident than in the music, beginning with Mosquito and his All-Stars in New York, all the way through the latest songs of the Miami, sound movement, and Pitbull's hip hop movement and reggaeton and all of that, and how all that has combined both our experience and the larger experience of this nation, and how we really are all, coming together. And I thought music, we thought, this was done in collaboration with Elizabeth Dean and other producers at WGBH, we thought that really you could see this interaction and this intersection very, very much through music, and that really was what was behind this.
Very well put, and thank you so much for explaining it to us. Wish you the best of success, and I'm glad it aired well and did well, and I look forward to seeing more of your work.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Adriane.
I thank you for having me here. I'm working now on something on sort of I call it the series version of this, because it's a 6-hour series that is called The Latino Americans, which is about the Latino experience in the United States. The non-musical version of the same thing.
I look forward to seeing it.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you very much.
We'll be right back. Well, that about wraps it up for our look at the Doc Miami International Film Festival. We hope you've enjoyed our behind-the-scenes look at the festival, but before we go, let me give you an update on our entry, MeTV's documentary, Through the Tunnel. It was selected and nominated and won the Best Historical Documentary Award right here at the 2010 Doc Miami International Film Festival. We want to thank everyone involved with the production, and we hope that you get a chance to see Through the Tunnel on MeTV. Thanks for joining us. I'm Larry Linehauser.